Assalamualaikum and hi, welcome ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nuraini Asri. Today I would like to present my presentation entitled Al-Ba'i Bithaman Ajil, Financing the Impacts of Islamic Banking Performance by Saiful Azhar Rosli. Before that, let me introduce my group member, which is Atit Nabila, Nur Sabrina, Nur Azmi, Nur Tajali Hakim, Nurul Husna, Nur Atira, Sharni, Nuratika, and Nur Najah. Let me call upon the first presenter to clarify the introduction. What is BBA actually is?
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today, my group and I will present the article with title Bithaman Ajil Financing, the Impacts on Islamic Banking Performance written by Saiful Azhar Rosli, 1999. Okay, the term al-bay normally includes the contracts of spot sale, by musawama by al-nuqud, deferred sale, BBA, murabaha, salam, istisna, leasing, ijara, and many more. The Malaysian model is based on a dual banking system which allows interest-based and interest-free banking to coexist and compete for deposits and financing. It is argued in this article that in a dual banking system, the performance of Islamic banks will decline in a high interest rate regime. In the short run, conversely, Islamic banks may gain relatively more than conventional banks when interest rates are falling, but they may then end up holding idle cash balance, leading to lower earnings in the long run. So first, in this paper, we will see the feature of BBA financing, followed by the impacts of interest rate change on loan and on profit rates. Then, we will present the empirical proof on the declining performance of Islamic banking during a period of rising interest rates. And last, my friends will present some conclusions and recommendations from this paper. So that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next person. Thank you.
Bithaman Ajil features. For definitions, Bithaman Ajil is a contract for financing sales by different installment. Bithaman Ajil must fulfill four principles and conditions of a sale contract, which are first, agent of contract, second, objective of contract, where the price element, which includes some time element, is spelled out. Third, object of contract, and lastly, offer and acceptance or ijab and kabul. Islamic jurists have no objection in setting credit price higher than cash sale, since the profit generated is legitimate in Sharia law. Lastly, the transaction of Bithaman Ajil is take place in the purchase of a property.
I will present the difference between BBA and loan. As you know, BBA is a product offer in Islamic bank, while loan is a product offer in a conventional bank. Firstly, the contract used in the BBA is a sale contract which involves buying and selling, while the contract used in the loan is a debt contract which involves lending and borrowing. Secondly, difference of profit. Profit of BBA random and uncertain. This is because BBA did not enter into any agreement on profit. Even if the stimulated profit are predetermined in a trade, the real expected profit remain random and uncertain, while a profit of loans are certain and unfair. Profit of loan are certain because they have guaranteed some rate and promise the profit. Profit created over the installment period is permissible or halal since the transaction is based in a deferred sale contract rather than a loan. Third, the pricing of BBA is a fixed profit rate applied, while the pricing in a loan is a pagan against BLR. The fourth difference is a selling price. In the BBA sale, the determinations of the markup and the selling price will depend on the stimulated annual rate of profit the bank desire from the transactions. Once the rate of the profit is determined and the financing period specified, the selling price can be computed using the annuity factor table. Hence, the selling price is determined at the beginning of the contract compared to the conventional, which determined at the end of the period.
By Bithaman Ajil in financing include a novation agreement between the bank, customer and vendor. This undertaken to secure the purchase of house made by the customer. The framework starts with, first, customer will pay the deposit to the developer to purchase the house. Second, customer will apply financing with the bank. Bank will buy the property for the customer. Third, bank will sell the property back to the customer with markup price. And lastly, the customer will pay the selling price by monthly installment to the bank.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Dr. Hanuddin and friend. Okay, today I would like to talk about impact of banking performance of Bithaman Ajil. Okay, the impact of BBA financing on a bank performance will be analyzed of the basis some restricted assumption. First, there exists a parallel or dual banking system, each governed by different banking laws. These laws will put restriction on the respective bank in product development and marketing. Okay. Secondly, conventional banks are allowed to make loans and attract deposits on the basis of interest received and payment, while Islamic banks can do the same but only through the application of trade and commercial contracts. And lastly, customers in respective of it are free to pursue financing or the deposit funds in bank of their choice, as banking law only applies to the banking business. Okay. After that, I'll buy Bithaman Ajil as a fixed rate. Okay. The BBA facilities required the selling price to remain fixed. Rate of profit in each contract must remain unchanged. If interest rate rise, conventional bankers normally revise interest rates on loan upwards. And finally, earning can be maintained since they have to raise interest rate on deposits. That's all from me. Thank you.
The volatility interest rate albeit Bithaman Ajil financing affecting non-Muslim today to use more BBA financing as an alternative instead of loans, as it will be cheaper than loans. However, the assumptions about Islamic banking customers are made among non-Muslims and Muslim customers according to their decisions. Some individuals who is rational and efficient will decide to obtain the highest level of profit at the lowest cost, meaning that he will make decisions only to fulfill the objective with the least possible effort, it only on the basis of costs and benefits. So, the rational decision made is often reflect one value orientation. As for non-Muslim customers, the opportunity is open to them to gain most benefit from dual banking system, since they can choose the product that benefit them the most. In contrast with Muslim customers, the behavior is influenced by value which are divine in nature. For sure, Muslims will be more likely to make decisions in the basis of faith in financing consideration. Even interest-free products look expensive. There is no opportunity for Muslims to choose the product that benefit them the most. Using the concept of ikhtiyar, there is only one choice can make for Muslim, namely employing the Islamic products. According to the annual report of BIMB, the BBA and Murabaha financing product indicate 85 to 90% of the assets, including real estate and construction, housing, trading, and financing and consumption credit. With that, the rising interest rates of BBA in BIMB become popular among non-Muslim and Muslim customers in Malaysia. From that practical, the earnings of Islamic banks can be assumed to be based on the fixed assets. If assuming that future rate would rise, the auto loans or home loans became more expensive, where the Islamic bank could not adjust the profit rates on deferred payment or installment sales contracts.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurunajah binti Mansur. For the next part, I will talk about declining earning on existing BBA sales. For generally, when interest increase, BBA demand will increase because BBA is fixed. BBA margin will affected when bank decide to increase hibah and dividend on al-wadiah and mudarabah investment for get more deposit. For dual banking system have big size asset and deposit than Islamic banking. Whenever interest increase, customer will appoint to BBA. In Islamic banking cannot be adjusted despite the desire of Islamic banking, then which conventional bank that can easily increase the interest. Islamic bank will choose to increase the hibah and dividend, but this strategy will lead to diminishing profit margin. Since BBA supported by deposit, if the bank increase deposit, non-Muslim customer will switch to conventional. The other strategy with Islamic interbank money market but require large funds. Therefore, the income earned by Islamic bank will decrease. Next is falling interest rate. When interest rate decrease, will affected on demand BBA because the contract are fixed. For demand on Muslim will see that BBA is more expensive than loan because interest rate in loan can be changed. Islamic bank could choose to hike deposit rate as existing BBA's profit stay at the old level for not reduce the margin, but for demand non-Muslim in BBA will decrease. This situation will make Islamic bank decrease their earnings.
My name is Nur Azmi bin Osman, and I will continue with the explanation of empirical evidence. The currency crisis that hit Malaysia in July 1997 has raising the interest rates and asset bubbles. A policy of high interest rates was pursued to defend the Malaysian ringgit. The structure of asset and liabilities compounded the problems derived from a weakened currency. The tight liquidity situation has put pressure on the operation of Islamic banking. Islamic banking must comply with the Sharia principles, which is cannot adjust profit rate upward to reflect higher cost of funds. Thus, profit margin is expected to fall due to this mismatch between long-term albeit Bithaman Ajil financing and short-term Islamic deposit. Failure to mobilize sufficient deposit for new albeit Bithaman Ajil financing should force the bank to resort to the more costly money market funds. In this study, data on 6 selected Malaysia banks are used to measure interest margin during the period from 1996 to 1997, which includes Bank Islam Malaysia, Maybank, Bank Bumi Malaysia, Public Bank, Oriental Bank and Pacific Bank. It shows the Bank Islam Malaysia is the only bank that saw its profit margin reduced in the period of rising interest rates. The decline may be explained by the bank's inability to increase profit rates on the fixed rate albeit Bithaman Ajil financing, resulting in a lower profit margin as rising interest rate drove up its cost of funds. Conventional banks show commendable performance since the floating rate loan will automatically adjust upward with the rise in interest rates. Maybank, however, did not show significant change in its interest margin. Apparently, Maybank aggressively increased its interest rate in effort to attract new deposit. In other words, interest rate on deposit could increase as fast as the increase in loan rates. However, the rising interest margin in Bank Bumi Putra, Public Bank, Oriental Bank and Pacific Bank had increased. The lending rate had risen more rapidly than the interest rate they offered to depositor.
As I conclude today's topic, this article looks at some possible outcomes of the dual banking system on Islamic banking performance and its benefits to customers. For example, when interest rate is rising, BBA financing will be relatively less expensive than loans since BBA are fixed rate asset. Islamic banks are unable to increase their profit rates at this will alter the contractual selling price and therefore making the BBA contract void. But the subsequent higher demand for BBA financing requires more deposits, which can only be mobilized at higher deposit rates. If Islamic deposit rates are not increased, banks may have to look for new funds in the money market, which will cost more than deposit. Either way, Islamic banks will see lower earnings relative to conventional banks during economic booms. However, during an economic slowdown, conventional banks are expected to revise the loan rates. To avoid future decline in income, Islamic banks should diversify into equity financing such as mudarabah and musyarakah ventures, both of which are variable rate asset. In housing and real estate financing, Islamic banks should venture into the construction business itself rather than to assume a role of a trader. If Islamic banks insist on pursuing the trading approach where relatively little value added is created, depositors can only receive a marginal return. So that's all from our group. Thank you.